Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are continuing the series on starting your IT journey. In my previous videos, I've shared my own personal experience and skills, and also my challenges during my IT career. But always remember to get different opinions and perspective. In today's video, I have a big surprise guest for you. Not only because of his position at Microsoft, but whenever I sit next to Sebastian, I always feel or the first thing that comes to my mind is kindness and very humble person, and he's always fun. So whenever you ask him, how are you? He used these super energetic words like I'm super or doing great. So if he's asking me back how are you doing? I cannot compete with this energy. So I have to say, I cannot say, I'm doing fine or I'm surviving. I have to also use this, better words or similar words as he uses. I've had the honor to work under his leadership and also playing football together. And I used my relationship today to convince him to come and support me in this video. And his advice has been always inspired me. So please welcome Sebastian to the channel. So welcome.
Thank
How
you,
are you
Mo. Very
today?
kind words. Very kind words. Thank you very much. All good, Mo. Thank you. I'm delighted to be here with you.
All right. So let's begin. The normal. Could you please introduce yourself? Where are you from? Your background and the classics. So please go ahead.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Sebastian, you can call me Seb. I was born in Ecuador. My family's from Argentina. I was raised in Mexico. I've been living in Ireland for 17 and a half years, 20 years in Microsoft, married to a beautiful, beautiful wife who is the pillar of my life, and two amazing boys, 10 and 14, who are incredible beings, and I'm really proud to be their father.
So you were previously a consultant or a technical consultant. So could you share a little bit about what you have done in the past, and also what was the motivation to move to a leader role as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm going to take you back even before the start of my career. I was privileged in the fact that my parents were the first people that graduated from an IT, actually the first IT generation in Argentina. So technology has always been with me in my house, so it's very normal to me. Now, the technology back then is not the technology we have now, and it's leaps and bounds what has happened. But I've always been, again, as I said, privileged because my parents worked in technology companies to either have a computer close or something around technology. So I studied computer science because I wanted to be close to technology, and computer science and computer engineering, rather than closing paths, it opens up paths, right? Because you can actually go to hardcore engineering, you can go to technical consulting, and you can go into leadership or sales, commercial roles as well. A little bit of everything that I did. So I started my career doing normal stuff like patching network cables and programming. I even taught programming at university as well, C and C++. This is a long time ago,
Mhm.
and
Nice.
obviously, and I love programming. By the way, sometimes I go into Excel macros and start typing up stuff just because I know it's probably dinosaur coding, but still, I like it. And then getting in, I had like I built websites, and I built software engineering companies like for myself. And then I got on to and then I started in IBM, and I went through their sales training, and it was phenomenal. It sort of opened up a very, very big let's call it field of operations for me. And after leaving IBM, got into Microsoft. But I sort of went back to a little bit more to my roots. I was more on the consulting side. I was an infrastructure consultant, and I came in a title called industry architect, which basically was an infrastructure consultant, but with an FSI industry approach, which FSI has a very different approach from a technology and architecture perspective than a manufacturing company does, than a retail company does, that et cetera, right? And it was very interesting. And after and I started in Microsoft in Mexico, and after 2.5 years, I moved to Ireland to help set up the Irish Microsoft Consulting Services practice.
Mm.
Uh, and then I found another passion of mine, which was building. As you can see, I have all my Legos, so I've always loved building. I have my 3D printer. I love building and creating stuff. So, but I didn't know that that I was going to be good and that I enjoyed the people side of change and building change, etc. So that was a really interesting sort of like aha moment for me, in
Mhm.
where I developed a lot of leadership skills through a financial crisis as well, where I had to get rid of most of my team, which was not a nice thing. And then fast forward a few years, I got to I found and I was good at building in businesses within Microsoft. Microsoft, with the advent of Office 365, with digital sales, building a massive organization in Dublin, with digital sales foraying into enterprise. So always have been privileged enough to be able to go and build teams and build definitions of what we're going to do and build how we measure people, etc. Going back to the first time that we built something, I realized that I liked the leadership, but I also liked the commercial aspect of leadership.
Mhm.
Not only that I like to buy nice things at the end of the year with those nice bonuses, but also which come with a lot of pressure, by the way. But I like the fact that people grew, right, and I felt really proud, and I think it's even a selfish thing maybe, that
Mhm.
I enjoyed when people grew, right. I think a lot of people say they do it for the other people, and I do, but I also do get a satisfaction when people get their next job, or where people that I once helped are successful, etc. So there is a bit of a selfish thing in there, where I enjoy it very, very much when people that I've helped, or that I've helped with their careers, etc., have grown. So
Mm.
I think I really, really liked the leading the teams, building teams, and I think that's what sort of changed the focus from more tech orientation to leadership, people, and commercial.
Oh, that's super nice answer. And a lot. Okay, I have a lot of follow-up questions here.
Yeah.
So, like many different times, I get from the community that I need to have an IT degree, like to get an IT job, right? What's your opinion about this? Like, is it required to have like a computer science degree or like engineering degree to become an IT like consultant, or it's not required?
Oof, that's a very big question. So it depends. I would say it really depends on the job that you're going to do, right? I think it certainly helps, because when you are competing with people for that role, they are going to look at what your your value differentiation is, right? So your
Mhm.
specific. So what is Mohammed's? What is Seb's value differentiation is? And if they are two excellent Mohammeds, right? And we're going to take the one that has an IT background, because it's going to be
Mm,
because hiring is a risk decision, right?
okay.
It's you're hiring for potential. You're not hiring for what they can deliver right there. So if you have an IT background, then sometimes the decisions for hiring managers make it easier, right? Having said that, in IT sales or IT pre-sales, the hard part is not the technical stuff; is the other soft
Mm,
skills that come within. So I've hired people that have sold cars before and have never sold technology, and they're some of my
mm,
best technology sellers, and then technology advisors to our customers, by the way, because they
mm,
get the business side. And when you have if you have IT degrees, I think a lot of the IT degrees, and maybe this has changed in the years that I have studied. A lot of the IT degrees do not have that business orientation anymore. I'm sure that you can mix and match now, or you can top it off with an MBA, which is phenomenal, obviously. But the commercial side from the IT people is missing, and therefore having somebody that can flex their muscles between IT and commercial, it's actually much
mm.
easier to teach IT to a non to a commercial person than a commercial thing to an IT person. So I haven't answered your question, but I would say
No, yeah.
it's important, but not an obligation.
Okay. I share the same opinion as well because yeah, I sometimes I tell the community, it is not required. I'm also like, graduated from business technology, so I didn't have an engineering degree. So I just want more opinions like that, and everybody will have his own perspective. So really appreciate your comment about this. So you've been 20 years at Microsoft, right? And like we all like as like as new employees, I'm only 5 years here and others are like 1 year. We always afraid of changes that happens either internally or externally, like outside in the world. How do you handle this? Because whenever I look at you, it's like 20 years of and you have witnessed a lot of changes. Like how do you keep yourself motivated and how do you handle this change?
Absolutely. That's a great question. And in Microsoft, I know it sounds like a cliche. The only constant thing is change. I always say this is my 22nd or 21st Q1, right?
Yeah.
So change is something we expect, right? And every time it becomes a little bit more, I would say there's more change, but the change becomes more brutal every year and every year. And it takes a certain kind of muscle to get accustomed to it. I'd say you right now, if for you, Mo, in June, when you know that, excuse me, you know that in July everything's going to change. For you, it's like, okay, another fiscal year, right? By the fifth year, you sort of
Yes.
you have that muscle, right? And you start getting excited to see, ooh, what's going to be the change, and who's going to report to whom, and what is this role going to mean for this year, and what are my accounts and stuff like that. So I think it takes a certain kind of person to actually look forward to all of this, and it's not easy, right?
Mm.
In my life, there have been some years where the change has not been good. That's a reality, right? And there's some years that have and that had the years that the change has been really really good. What I would say
Mm.
is make sure that um, and you mentioned something that I always say that, oh, this is hello, I'm awesome today and I'm super, etc. And I think attitude becomes aptitude, and that's super important. When you face
Mm.
things optimistically, I call them a year. I call them years of learning or years of earning, right?
Mm.
So sometimes when you don't make as much money one year in sales, then it's a year of mostly of learning, right? And that's what you earn. But sometimes there are good years where you earn
Mm.
money, right? Ideally, you would
Mm.
do both. So I've seen, and the only way is by living through those changes that you see at the end, on the other side of this change. And that's what experience brings, that's what wisdom brings, that's what skills bring. You know that at the other end things are going to be in a certain manner, either okay or not okay. And if you're okay to lead and lead yourself with that ambiguity through those
Mm.
first few months of change, then you're fine. If you're not okay, then you need to do something different. And that's fine too. There's no good and bad here. It's what you are willing to ingest as a human being or not.
Okay, that's a perfect answer. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so as a family man, right, and like you have kids and wife, and you hold like a big responsibility at Microsoft. Uh, Whenever you get this new role, how do you plan with your wife and your kids as well? How do you basically handle the work-life balance and also communicate that? Because like a lot of time you might be required to travel, maybe work more, so how do you handle this? And specifically, I want to get this answer because, like also women in tech, and they are also leaders as well, and they have kids to look after, and they do like more job than we do, like in terms of like being family at home. And yeah, like what is your advice here? And yeah, so.
Absolutely. So, first of all, I would say make sure, again, bring clarity to both
Yeah.
situations, right? So in my personal, very very personal circumstances, I've always discussed with my wife whether we as a family unit are willing to ingest what's going to happen, positive and negative, right?
Mhm.
As I take on another role. So I'm going to bring you back to 2012 when I took a GBB role. It's a global
Mm.
black belt role in. It was very specialized to sell Office 365, which was a new thing. Nobody, we were competing very very hard, and I had to be on a plane every week.
Mhm.
And we had just had our second child. He was 0 years old, so perfect timing from my perspective. But I did speak with my wife, we spoke very very clearly and said that this could be a before and after. In
Hmm.
it could be career making, it can be financial independence making, it could be a lot of things from that perspective. So and obviously from that perspective you're making a bet, right? So
Hmm.
in whether it worked or not, it's irrelevant. I think the important thing is to be clear with your family about what's going to happen and the outcomes. And I'm sounding very very company speak, but it's what's going to happen, right? If we do this, this is what's going to happen, right? And basically we take that decision together, right? Obviously
Hmm.
it's up to me to deliver, but I can't deliver without the support of everyone at home, even my parents coming in and helping taking care of the kids and all that type of stuff, which they still are. So in this iteration, the difference is not as much travel as before, but more
Hmm.
night work, right? Maybe
Okay.
more talk in the evenings because you have to be more connected to across time zones. So from that perspective, what you define in your calendar is the days that you will be able to work from the evening and maybe take a little bit of time in the middle to be. I for example, randomly Tuesdays from 6 to 8, I play football with my kids, right? And
Okay.
there's nothing anybody can do to move that in my calendar. And
Mm.
maybe next fiscal year, this fiscal year, with their training, that's going to have to move. But then I will move that around. So maybe bring that utmost clarity on which days I'm going to work late, which ones I'm not, etc. And be very very maniacal about managing the calendar that way. And of course, there's going to be extremes like in everything, right? Or emergencies or things that happen on both sides, by the way.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And like what kind of strategies that you like you use to maintain that healthy work-life balance? Like how would you make sure that you actually have a proper work-life balance? You do take care of of course, your work and also your kids and your wife.
Yeah.
Any kind of tips that you use?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not very good at it, by the way. It's an interesting one. So, what I would say is make sure that you drop everything in your calendar. You become structured, right?
Hmm.
And that you follow that structure. It's very hard for me. I'm more of a organized chaos than structured person. But make sure that you put reminders in your calendar and that you use your calendar to remind you when to stop as well.
Hmm.
There's a
Okay.
big thing about resilience, and I'm a fan of resilience capabilities and resilience conversations. And people think generally that resilience is about how much stuff you can take on before you break, right? And
Mm.
resilience is actually a physics term. Resilience is based on materials that after you put them under pressure, let's take for example a string, right? So if
Mm.
you pull on a string, you're excuse me, you're putting pressure on it, or you're extending pressure. Resilience is the ability of how long does it take to get back to its original form. That's the
Mm.
material's resilience. So in order to do that as a human being, you need downtime. So downtime becomes as important as your execution time sometimes, because then if you only do execution time and you don't have any downtime, then you're going to be it's going to be impossible to execute at your highest levels.
Okay. And does Microsoft as a workplace understand the family culture? How do they support you as a family man?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's loads of things that I can do. There's loads of leaves I can take. There's loads of conversations that I can have with leadership and obviously the ones that I have with my people. And I'm very careful. For example, if I see people responding at 2, 3 a.m., I catch.
Hmm.
I'm very very specifically mindful of this. Where I say, obviously, I don't care if you're working from 2 to 3 a.m. if that suits you.
Hmm.
But if it's because you're having issues or because you can't sleep, etc., I would urge them to take a day off, or to or extend their weekend, or take half a day, or or even make sure that they understand that they're doing it right. That's
Hmm.
important enough, because people sometimes they just follow things, and you just do until you crash, and the recovery from a crash is very very hard. Think of it as a dirty room, right? If you clean it a
Hmm.
little every day, it's very very easy. If you let it get dirty for months, then you have to take a week to clean up, right?
Oh yeah,
So
of course.
Microsoft does every leader that I've had is has been very, very mindful of my time, my family's time, and so have I for the people that I've led.
All right, that's great to hear. So what is your management style?
Yeah,
Can you share a little bit about this?
absolutely. So I have it in a few words. So it's kind, not soft, right?
Great.
And people before results. So excuse me. I don't shy away from the tough conversations. I always had them, but with kindness first. So
All right.
I'm very, very strict about expectations and clarity, because then you can have all the tough conversations that you can. But I'm also very mindful of the stage of their life, excuse me, the people are at. So being kind is super important to me because I think people respond better to kindness. Uh, but definitely not soft within that kindness. So demanding the results, demanding the expectations that have been set, and basically demanding the arrangements that we have and alignment that we have between ourselves.
Okay. So if somebody come to you in the floor, say that they are interested to be a manager, what will be your advice to them?
Yeah, are you sure? That's my first question, because being a manager is not that easy.
Yeah.
So what my advice is, I always say that when I hire managers and when most people hire managers, right? I look at three things. I look at their expertise in people management, and that doesn't have to be that they've done a people management job before, but that their
Hmm.
abilities to lead people through change, have impact and influence through others, etc., etc. To be able to do stakeholder management, because that's super important. The ability to bring others that are not that are from different businesses to work on your businesses, or to drive stuff for your business through them, or to make them happy, etc., etc. And of course, your ability to get results, right?
Okay.
Then if you
Yeah.
get people that are very, very good across all three, you have the tiebreakers, which is the domain knowledge. So if I'm hiring for an Azure person, and do they
Hmm.
know Azure, right? So if you have three perfect people in results and stakeholder management, and you have one Azure person and one non-Azure person, if you're hiring for an Azure job, or the Azure person takes the role. Same as I mentioned with the IT degree before, right?
Hmm.
So domain knowledge, organization knowledge, if they come from within the org, they get priority, obviously, and
Hmm.
area knowledge. So if they know the people they're going to work with, that's something that is super important for us as well.
Okay. And how do you keep managers motivated? Certainly work. Like I would love to hear that from you as well. Uh,
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because it depends how to keep people motivated depends definitely not on the role, but who they are as individuals, right?
mhm,
So if I were to come into a new team, um, I wouldn't be able to tell you how to keep them motivated,
mhm.
right? There's no way
Yeah.
until I learn what motivates them, right?
Mhm.
I don't. Um, I think energy motivates people. I think
Okay.
fun motivates people, or most people, right? I think in our organization, winning
Mhm.
motivates people, right? So if you can intertwine that with demonstrating a path to achievement, right, to fulfillment, to career enhancement, most people are going to thrive and be motivated within that theater of operations. Um, and then you take it to the next level and say, well, this person hates public recognition, right? Don't do that. These people loves public recognition more than there are people that love being recognized more than actually making money, right?
Mm,
So you shift a little bit and you adapt to the people that report to you, and make sure that you take the organizational needs into account, but basically learn from the people, because they're people first.
yeah, of course. You have worked in a different managerial roles, like starting from like people or technical people or sellers directly reporting to you. They also become like a manager of managers and so on. Like, could you share your lens? Like, what are the differences
Yeah,
between like a people manager managing the floor directory and like managing managers?
absolutely, absolutely. I think for me, the main difference is you're getting as further away from the action as possible, right?
Hmm.
Um, and sometimes that's very hard. And you're also delegating. You're not losing control, but you're delegating control, right?
Hmm.
As an M1. So as an IC, you're in full control. You're the CEO of your business, right? You know that every single action that you or you make others take on that territory is going to have an impact, positive or negative. Or every action that you don't take has an impact, positive and negative. As an M1, you are basically coaching those people to understand how better to impact, or how better to make those decisions that impact that territory positively, right? As an M2, you're defining the strategy, right? Which you believe makes people impact better. So how to enable them from a skills perspective, how to enable them from a tooling perspective, how to enable them in order to say, look, how to change direction very, very quickly and implement through others, etc. Rather than saying to someone, you have to tell this to the customer, you say, this is the speech that we're going to give to every single customer. What I'm going to do is to make sure that everybody has had a conversation with a customer, right? And those are the main differences. And now, as a director and a manager of directors, or a director of directors, the more of the, or it's more around the organizational and budget setting, basically being that liaison with the corp and the solution area strategy, right? And how to take that strategy and implement it in a worldwide manner, right? So somebody says, technology X needs to deliver 5 billion, right? And we have to do it with these business rules, right? And then they go and say, Seb, you go and do it, right? So I know that and you have 90 people, and you have for this, and you have 80 people for that, and in the field they have to provide you with X, Y, and Z support. So with all that, then you design how you want to land, and it's not just a me thing; it's a team thing, obviously. You design how things are going to land. So you have less control about the particular things, but more control about how to measure and what's going to land. And I think that's probably, and there's many more things, but at a high level, I think that's probably the best thing that I can explain it.
It's very tough. Like
It's difficult. It's difficult because, of course, the
yeah.
most important thing is, the way that I like to do it with my teams is I ask them for an outcome, right? This is the outcome you need to do. Number of activities or whatever, number of revenue, number of X, Y, and Z. It doesn't matter, right? And I don't dictate on them how to do it, right? Generally, I leave them to, and generally, if I would coach them on how to do it, right? But generally, my leadership team is quite senior, that they choose to do things in their own way, right? So I try to meddle the least as possible, but to make sure that what I asked as an outcome is delivered.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. So you're moving to a new role, and of course, congratulations.
Thank you.
So how do you spend your first month in this new role? What is your strategy of getting, like, or to understand more about this role, or what is your strategy basically do you build before you start and execute things?
Absolutely. So, in Microsoft, there are very different times of the year, right? This time is quite strange in our fiscal year, because we're defining a lot of things. So instead of doing a 30-60-90, I did a -30-30-60-90. So in the -30, I took an opportunity, and I went and met most, if not all, of my stakeholders one-on-one, to understand and set expectations with them, and understand. There's one thing that I really like to do always with those type of people, which is the conditions of satisfaction. Is not what we are going to deliver, because the numbers are set by finance and et cetera, et cetera. There's not much control over what we can deliver, but how we are going to deliver. So if we deliver the what and deliver it in the means of the how, then you are going to be happy. You are going to click on very satisfied, right? So that's what I've taken. Basically, I've done as a priority for the first month, is to make sure that I get to know everyone that's involved, or everyone that I need to, that's involved in the new role, from a stakeholder perspective. I had, and also from my new team, I made sure that I met every single manager and every single director, so that and by the way, meet them from a human perspective, understand what they like, if they like to play golf, if they like to if they like dogs, if they like to travel, if they have
Mm.
something going on in their family. Why do they you live here and not there? Why did you move there? Well, I have a sickness in the family. I have something that's going on here. I'm gonna have to move. My dream in life is to become a parachutist. So I live here because there's the best school, whatever it is, right? So just to try to understand the people at a human level. So that to me is my priority. So human to human connection, understanding the business. So basically learning as much as possible as we can, and making sure that I build those trusted connections with the people that I want to work with.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. That's perfect. Let's move away from business. Like, what is your favorite sports?
Football.
I know, but but
Absolutely. No
yeah.
other. I mean, I love a lot of sports, and I'm a fan of sports in general. I like athletic prowess, but football for me, being from Argentina and watching football all my life with my dad, and being in Argentina the time that we won in '86 and celebrating there when I was 6 years old, it was just awesome.
Okay. And what is your daily routine looks like? Like when you wake up in the morning, what you do and so on, and also your
Yeah,
weekends routine.
yeah, that's more different. But normal routine, excuse me, normal routine. Not in summer. I would wake up at 6, and I would read a little bit about the news and just to catch up on some stuff. Obviously, with the mobile, that's something that you should not do, but I do, and I try to do least. I practice a gratitude every morning.
Mhm,
I I I say thanks, and I consciously think everything that we have, starting with our health,
mm,
starting with the fact that we live in a lovely warm house, that we have stuff to eat, and that our
mhm,
loved ones are happy and healthy and safe, and then thankful for the job, thankful for everything that's going on in my life, and that I think that sets you up with a different kind of energy for the day when you
mhm,
practice gratitude. Then I prepare because I'm my kids. This is a temporary thing in my life, but one kid goes to one school and the other one is in secondary, one is in primary. So I
mhm,
drive the one in secondary. My wife drives the one in primary. The primary one starts later. So I do breakfasts and lunches, and then my wife does breakfast and lunch boxes, and then my wife does lunch does pickups. So my wife takes
mhm.
the little one to school, and I take the older one to school, which funnily enough is very close to the office. So that's why I'm generally in the office every day. I'm not today because it's summer, so no need. But I drive them to the office, and then I start in the office around 8:15, 8:20. And I generally, that time I take to connect with Asia and with my
Mhm,
Asian counterparts, because they are just going to finish their day. I have lunch at around 12 to 1. I have, again, depending on my calendar, I have meetings or workshops or Rob calls or forecast calls and all that amazingly cool stuff.
mhm,
Generally finish at about 5 or 6, sometimes later, sometimes earlier. That's true as well. And then in the evenings, generally it's taking my kids to training to their
mhm,
varied sports, either Gaelic football, hurling, normal football, trampoline jumping, running around the place to do that, or playing football with them on Tuesdays. And then on Fridays, we take a little bit more of either go to the movies or
mhm,
dinners, and my kids go with their friends. So that's it.
mhm,
On weekends, the Saturday, especially Saturday until 3, it's all about sports. There's generally two matches: a football match
mhm.
and a Gaelic football or a hurling match. So I thankfully right now the matches don't overlap, so I'm able to take them to both. So me and my wife generally take them to both matches, and I go crazy and I shout and I scream and I think that I'm playing, but I'm not, and etc. So, but it's a good disconnection. If I have available, I do Legos, which I love, and I
Mhm,
absolutely adore building Legos, and it sort of disconnects me as well. They are generally Star Wars or space related, so they're very cool stuff.
mhm.
And then I love to sleep. So on Sundays, I'm unless we have to do something early in the morning, I'm a big sleeper. So I wake up when my back starts to hurt. So and then of course we do, I don't know, we go out with friends, and we have friends with kids in common ages. So they
Mhm.
are playing football, where we're chatting in a park or having a picnic or doing something fun. And I love, and we try as much as we can, whenever we can, when kids are on holidays, etc., to travel. That's very important for us.
Okay, and like like if you get the me Sebastian, like do you still meet your old friends and like the childhood, or are you're no longer doing that?
That's hard because most of my childhood friends are spread around the world. Um,
Hmm.
Whenever I can, I do. So if I'm in Mexico, I would meet them. There's one guy that comes to Europe, and we sort of synchronize and meet together whenever we can.
Hmm.
But of course, on WhatsApp and sending stupid stuff over over the network, over the social media. It's always good fun. So we keep in touch. We have, I mean, I've been here for 17 years, right? So we have a
Yeah.
very good social circle here. Very small and tight, but very good and lovely for the kids and loads of really good fun people.
Okay. And okay, that's since like we forgot about Ireland. Like, what was the challenges that you and the family have seen when you moved here?
Absolutely. So we moved here without kids, right?
Hmm.
So the first year, the first couple of years were absolute honeymoon years. Like we were traveling everywhere. Oh my God, this is. I mean, we come from Latin America, which is very a little bit disorganized, and a lot of traffic and a lot of rules and stuff like that. This was a little. We were like in awe of all of this, right? And all the ability to travel with Ryanair for next to nothing, and oh my God, traveling here so cheap, and there's so much stuff we can do. So the first couple of years we spent traveling. That's a reality, right? And
Hmm.
we enjoyed it. We loved it. Um, the challenges I think with Ireland is coming from a place of a lot of light, right?
Hmm.
Is the dark evenings in the winter, or the
Hmm.
the lack of sunlight sometimes impacts us. In general, I think from a cultural perspective, Irish people are super nice, so that has not been an issue for us in general.
Hmm.
And again, as I said, privileged because. Um, from a timeline of crisis and financial perspective, etc., we were there at the right time, at the right place, etc. So we weren't impacted as much about uh, rents and purchasing powers and all of that other stuff. So we made the move, thankfully, at the right time. So for us, Ireland has been incredibly welcoming. And then our kids were born here, so for them, they don't know anything else, so they love it. They absolutely
Hmm.
adore it here. They love to travel as well. They love going to meet their grandparents in Mexico. Obviously, who wouldn't? And
Hmm.
because they live in a great place as well down there, so close to the beach. So that I think the family life in Ireland, with the schools being so good, or again, we are lucky with the schools that our kids go to, have made it for a quite easy way to live here. Again, difficult to be away from family, and difficult to be away from your childhood friends, and the light, not the weather. I mean, the weather. I think you travel and you get over it, right? But the lack
Hmm.
of light sometimes is the stuff we struggle most with. But again, me and my wife and my kids are positive attitude people, so we
Hmm.
always use the difficulty to do something good about it, right?
Okay.
So if there's no light, you know what? Try and do something indoors, or if there's too much rain, we go and try to travel for a long weekend or something like that, just to take our minds off things. So the move has been great, by the way.
Okay, nice. That's nice. Okay, do you have any dream countries to travel or to live in, or Ireland
Oof.
is gonna be your final destination?
So yeah, it's dream countries to travel. Everyone that's missing, right? Every single country that is missing for me to on my list. Obviously Egypt, and that should happen very soon, hopefully. I really want to do a little bit more in Asia. I haven't been
Yeah.
to Asia a lot. I've only been to Japan, Middle East, and some others there, but not really taking time to discover Asia, which I think would be amazing, and from what I've seen.
Hmm.
To live in, I think we need. I think the current candidates are somewhere in the coast of Italy or Spain, more
Okay.
Mediterranean, with European infrastructure. So
Mm.
that's and good food. So
Yeah.
can't go wrong with any of that. But that's going to be a long way away. I still have at least 20 years more of work, and I think when my kids go to college, I think that's a good time to sort of figure out our next move.
Okay. And moving back to the business, like, what is your dream role? Like, or like, do you have specific plans? Like, or how do you plan for the next role at Microsoft?
Mm, that's a great question, and I've been fundamentally really poor at that, but very
Hmm.
successful, which is very interesting. Um, so what I do generally is I take bets on on organizations, right?
Hmm.
So ever since the GBB, when I got on the GBB role in 2012, they said it was a 1 year role, and then we were in the fourth year of a 1 year role, and I think it's more of a Microsoft thing than the organizational thing. When I went into digital sales, I went into a place where I knew it was grow and I could grow with it.
Hmm.
And um, when I went into digital sales for enterprise, it was where I thought when I could grow more organizationally, just not just from from a learning perspective. So and that's worked out. I think as I stand in this role right now, uh, I don't think I have a dream role, but I know and I have a dream function, right?
Okay.
My dream function is to lead as big a sales team as possible,
Okay. That's very
right?
nice one. That's
Yeah.
ultimate.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I don't mind if it's X, Y, or Z, if it's an ATU perspective from I've done it all, right? I've done every
Yeah.
single sales role in Microsoft except for technical roles. So,
Okay.
and the one that I get fulfilled from the most is leading people. So,
Yeah.
as big a sales role as possible, that's where I am.
Okay. As you are a people expert, like, how would you define a good leader and a bad leader? Um,
Yeah, I think a good leader manages down and a bad leader manages up,
okay.
right? I think good leaders care about their people and drive stuff through their people, and bad leaders drive results in spite of their people,
Mm.
right? Some good leaders trust, bad leaders mistrust or micromanage,
Hmm.
and good leaders have strong, honest, and tough conversations. Bad leaders shy away from them, right?
Hmm.
And good leaders provide clarity. Bad leaders um, uh, provide confusion in general, right?
Mm.
So I think that would be more of the difference. I've been lucky in Microsoft that I've had very few bad managers, probably maybe just
Hmm.
one or two.
Hmm.
Mostly great managers that have inspired me and that I get to learn from. And but most importantly, phenomenal teams that have allowed me to grow within Microsoft as well.
Okay. And how do you like give advice to, like, the management, like, to grow? Like, what is your strategy about this? Is there any kind of I would say technical track, or like, specific courses that they need to study, or
Mm.
it's just
No,
personal experience? Yeah.
it's experience. Make sure that when so if you want to grow from an IC to an M1, or from an M1
Hmm.
to an M2, or from an M2 to an M3, make sure that before the interviews or before a potential role opens, you deliver some of the work that role does already, so that you can prove within the interviews that
Hmm.
you have capability of driving such impact,
Hmm.
right?
And
So yeah.
yeah, yeah, and how do you spot, like, when you do an interview for a manager, how would you say, okay, this is the guy that I want to hire him? What do you see?
No, yeah. So the person that I usually that hires, again, are those people that deliver stakeholder management, that can
Hmm.
have proven capabilities and proven examples of stakeholder management, they create results, and um, how do they do so people management, stakeholder management, and results, and their domain knowledge, etc. So how they give me specific examples of stuff that they've done. For me, it's very important also the energy levels, right? The fact
Hmm.
that I believe that they can lead people, that people will trust them, and that I have no tips for. It's pure instinct, right?
Hmm.
And I've gotten them 95% right. So,
Hmm.
and unfortunately, that 5% people that are no longer with us in the company, I've gotten wrong. So,
Hmm.
but in general, that energy part, that leadership piece, is more of a in the moment feeling. The other ones are all the things that you have to prove to me that you can do, or that you've done something
Hmm.
similar. so that I can
Mhm.
trust that I'm not taking a massive risk on it.
Okay, so there's no specific like I would say like a specific track for people to get into the managerial role. Like it's not a skill that you have to learn. It's
It's
something that you
hard.
have to.
It's a hard one.
Uh,
Leadership courses, coaching courses, uh, but it's more important to lead people through an initiative, measure the impact that you've done through leading people. Look, I've created a marketing campaign that drives pipeline. The pipeline before I started was 0, and the pipeline after I trained 10 people is 10. This is the
mhm,
impact, and
mhm,
I've made all of this impact not through myself, but through these 10 people, right?
mhm,
Those types of things, so that you can demonstrate that you can lead people. You can lead without authority. Leading with authority is actually much easier than leading without authority. So,
mhm.
that's what I would say the alignment should go to.
Right. Okay. So what's the like? I would just end up with a few smaller questions. Like, what is your advice to the young, like students or even somebody that who's still like starting his career, like to get a job like in companies like Microsoft or Google or Amazon or whatever. What's gonna be your advice? Because a lot of time I see that people think that this is impossible to get a job, or it's like you need to do so much. Do you have a secret here, secret, uh, I don't know, secret advice that you could share with us?
Yeah, I don't. There is no. I love the way that you put it. Secret advice. I think what I would do is always always research, right? If you're just leaving university, and always research what the company's about, what programs they have for people. People hire people, right?
Mhm,
And so network, use LinkedIn, ask questions. I've had a lot of really interesting students come up to me and said, Seb, can we just have a chat for 15 minutes so you can tell me about stuff? And they're not many, but I've had about, I'd say, about 10 or 15 through the years. And there are wonderful, wonderful people that are really just trying to learn and network. And they say, excuse me, can you connect me to people which I can learn from, in order so that when there is a role there, that I can do X, Y, and Z. So the advice for people is network, learn, um, define what you want to do and where you want to do it, right? Because that's going to define the scope of opportunities that you're going to have, right?
mhm,
And it's very easy when you're not in control of the job offers, which we're not in control of when we don't work for a company, and
mhm,
the locations where companies open up, how the market situation we're not in control of. It's very easy to get to delegate blame of something not happening to those circumstances, right?
mhm,
So if you define what you want to do, where you want to work, in which location you want to work, then that defines a set of opportunities that's defined by you, and not the stuff that you cannot control, right?
mm,
So once you've got that defined in your mind, then do the networking, meet the people, get prepared. If you want to do sales, go sell clothes, work in a restaurant, or in a hotel. Learn, grow that thick skin, so that when you have to deal with tech customers and people, not, I wouldn't say don't treat you right, but are not as nice as they should be. Just go, that's fine, it's okay, and I'll go
mm.
on to the next one. So always get prepared, learn, read, travel, learn about the world. Super important.
That's perfect. So yeah, we just have reached the end of this video. So I just want to like thank you so much for your time and all of the amazing insights that like you have shared with us today. I'm sure the community is gonna be inspired, and like definitely I look forward to interview also someone else like in the channel and have different perspective. But in your opinion, do you like this approach of keep inviting more people and talk about their experience? And like what is the advice, what's your advice to me, like if I would say.
Absolutely, absolutely. Keep on inviting people. I love your channel, even though I wouldn't be your primary consumer of it. I'm a big fan, and I think it's great that you connect people together. I think that's the most important bit. And experience and wisdom comes from being exposed to all matters of life, right? So I would very much suggest to keep on doing this, because it brings a lot of diversity to what people are trying to learn. So it's super important.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much for your time, Sebastian.
Thank you, Mo.
And yeah, thank you. And really, thank you for your support. I'm super proud of this interview. And yeah, see you on the floor. Have a
Excellent.
good one. Bye.